Okay, so I'm just going to do a little quick demo here showing how we use our surface water sampling form. You're looking at Filemaker 12 software here, and when we use this form out in the field, we use the iPad with the Filemaker Go 13 app. And when we're out in the field, what we see is we see this form here, and we see each of these tabs. We got site info, flow measurement tab, sampling bottles, or the tab that we hit when we want to get into doing our water collection, a photo tab, and then a reset tab, which clears the form and sets you up for when you go to your next location. Then this other tab is for doing different data management things. I'll show you all of those in a minute. When you're out in the field, you don't see any of this other stuff. This is only stuff that you see when you're running Filemaker on your PC. So I'll just kind of go through this form as we would when we're out in the field. So we start out on this site info tab. So we type in our location. With any of these things, if you have sites that you visit regularly, you can have drop-down menus. Like this is a list of a lot of the places that we go to. So for example, just pick my stream. I can have some things auto-fill depending where we are. Like for example, the project name, today's date, the sample ID for the bottles, and another partial ID automatically filled in because of where we are. All these things are programmed in, so it recognizes where you are, and it'll fill things in as needed. So I typed in where I am. I can fill in the weather, another drop-down menu, just make up stuff here. Say it's cloudy and 32 degrees. Sampling team tab. Are you collecting water samples? Today, yes we are. And I have this button in here programmed in because at the very end, when I'm done filling out this form, I have some scripts that they go back through the form and make sure that actually everything's filled out. So if you click no, we're not collecting water samples, it'll only check to make sure that you filled out everything necessary required to complete the form, except for anything related to bottling. So yes, we're collecting water bottles. For the YSI, another drop-down menu depending which of the tools we're going to be using. Normally use number 3. You can see that automatically filled in which turbidity kit we're using, whether it's NTU or FAU. DO method, going to be using YSI on that. KEX ID, that's just an ID that we use for bottling here. Another thing I did on here is anything that's required information for our field work, I have it in I have the box look orange until it's filled out and filled out correctly. So our KEX ID, they need to make sure that they have the digit is a proper length. I think the numbers have to be 7 digits long. So you see it's orange right there. So if I fill it in with another 4 digits, they turn white. So it's filled out properly. Stream RP, I'll just make it up. 1.0 fills in the time automatically. Here's some YSI parameters. Again, I'll just make some stuff up here. Something special about this list down here, and I don't know if you can see it on this movie or not, but pH, we have a range that, a historical range that is specific to each stream, and also specific for the season for that particular stream. So the range that we hope to be in for this stream is 6 to 7, and there's a little tiny 6 there and a little tiny 7 there. It's just a little indicator I built in just so we can see what the range is supposed to be. And I also built into this form that if it's outside of that range, it'll automatically send an email out to people that I specified. As soon as we get back into Wi-Fi, the iPad will automatically send out an email. So 6 to 7 is the correct range. If I type in 6.5, everything's okay. If I type in 5.5, It sends up a little warning. It says pH has exceeded the minimum benchmark. Press OK to set up an email. And then when you're on the iPad, you just hit OK. It'll go to the Mail app on the iPad, and then all you have to do is hit send, and then it'll jump back right to the field sampling form. It's not going to work on the PC just because it's not designed for that. So then moving on, ORP, I'll just fill in a number there. Okay, so I'm done with kind of like my basic info for the stream, and now I'm going to go into flow measurement mode, and that's going to be this next tab. And I'll just kind of walk through this screen a little bit. So on the left here are all of the fields required for doing flow measurement. On the right side here, it's previous measurements. This will show you the last two readings that you've done, and you'll see that in a minute. I'll just do a quick example here. So we have our starting point, and the way that we do streams, it's not always going to be 0. A lot of times you can't get the tagline stuck in the bank right where the edge of the river meets the water. So that could be any number for your starting point. So I'll just make something up here, 0.3. And you can see this turned orange because that's going to be some required information here. I need to tell it that it's the beginning edge. This is for all the calculating that it's going to be doing to figure out the flow. Stream depth. We'll make that 0.0 right there, and we'll make the velocity 0.0. And some other built-in things that I'll show you. Let's say I want to go onto our next measuring spot in the stream. I would just hit new record. But I have a warning that says please fill in the orange boxes. And the reason that I did that is because we want to make sure that we're actually recording what water meter that we're using, make sure that we're recording it in the correct units, feet per second and not meters per second, and flow period. We want to make sure we're doing all that stuff before we get done with the stream sampling. We want to make sure we catch it in the beginning. So that's done, so now I'm going to hit new record. You can see that some of this historical data is starting to show up on the right side just for reference as we go. So my next point, I'll do 0.6. Stream depth, I'll put 1 foot. And velocity, go 2.0. And then at any point through this form we can start filling in any remarks if we want. If I click on the remarks box, I built in another little sheet where we can checklist some things. It's just having less things to type out in the field helps out a lot. So I can say we have excellent measuring conditions. Any of these things we've programmed in there. We can type in whatever we want. I'll put beaver dams affecting flow. And down here I can also add some things to that if these checklists aren't showing everything that I want to say. So I could just add beavers are still here. And I just hit done. And that brings me back to the form, and all those things, the things that I checked and the things that I added are going to show up in the remarks thing now. So new record, moving on to the next measuring point. Same at the 1 foot mark. Stream depth 1.2, velocity 2.3, and next, moving on, 1.3, stream depth 2.0. Oh, I can show you something here. So with flow measurements, different formulas kick in if you get over 2.5 feet. When you're at 2.5 feet or greater, you have to do two stream measurements. So let's say it's 2.7 feet deep here. You can see I have 2 boxes now to fill out. I have velocity at the 0.2 stream depth and velocity at the 0.8 stream depth. So that's built into the form as well. So let's make up some numbers here. new record. Okay, new spot 1.6. Stream depth 2.0. Some other things I built in here. Sometimes we use our bridge board when the river's flooded and we can't wade it. We don't use the bridge board that much, so I built in instructions. So if I just click on the word bridge board, I built it in so all the instructions for using the bridge board pop up. So when I'm done refreshing myself on that, I just click back to the form. And if I'm going to be using the bridge board, I just click yes. And another thing built in here, when you use the bridge board, you have to insert the distance from the bottom of the weight to the center of the cups. That's when using the AA flow meter. So you would do that. But we're not using the bridge board. In the wintertime, we run into having to deal with ice and using the auger to get down to the stream. So if I run into ice, all I have to do is click the ice box, and it says please insert the distance from the bottom of the ice to the top of the water, and these calculations get factored into figuring out the flow. So I would do that, and at each measurement point when I encounter ice, I'd have to click the ice box to for each of those ice measurements, because that's going to change from measuring point to measuring point. So moving on with this particular spot, velocity. Okay, normally we do about 20 measurements, but I'm going to end it here because it's just a demonstration. I'm going to go 2.0, and that's the ending edge, so I'm going to click ending edge on there. Stream depth 0.0, velocity 0.0, and you can see it now shows you what the total flow of the stream is, and as we've been going the whole time, it's been showing the calculated flow up to that point in the previous measurements box. Okay, so we got done with the flow measurement. Now we're going to go to the sampling bottles tab, and we're going to start to fill our bottles with water. So I just fill in what sampling time I'm doing here. Let's say it's 12 o'clock noon. Some of these things I automatically filled in. I'm using some bottling data that's kind of standardized for what we do, but we never do VOCs or ammonia when we're out at streams. But I have them on here to have the option to, in case we ever want to. But I just have them automatically filled to 0. But they can be changed out in the field. So here we're doing 2 mercury bottles, 1 metals, 1 various. Are they filtered, yes or no? Just fill that in. If you do a dupe, field duplicate, or a field blank there, here's your opportunity to put that information in. So we're not going to do a dupe here. Let's just say yes, we're doing a field blank. So here's some fields popped up. Sample ID, we're going to call it field blank 1. Kex ID, again, you need those digits for that. Sample time, just fill that in. MSD, we're not going to be doing that here. Okay, we always also want to take photos of the stream, and this works real well on the iPad app. All you have to do is tap the orange box, and the iPad will automatically show a window that says use camera. So all you have to do is press that, and then it goes straight to the iPad camera. And then you take your photo, and then it'll input that photo right into this form. So you do that for each of these upstream, downstream control, and any obstructions like beaver dams or logs that it might be in the way that can go in this box. But I have it built into the form that it's required to do these 3 orange ones. Otherwise, when you get to this point, it'll tell you the form's not finished. And it's going to say that right now because I'm not going to insert photos for this demonstration. Let's say you did get to the end and it says field form's not finished. That's your cue to kind of go back, look through things, and see if there's any of those orange boxes still showing. And well, here's an example of one that needs to be filled out, your final RP. So let's type it in. Okay, now if it was all done, it would say field form is finished. Good job. And here's an example of some things that we can do to exit the form. One option is to press this button to basically save all the data that I just did, and it'll clear out the form and set me up for going to the next site. This particular button will save all the data, prep this form for the next site, but it's also going to open up another FileMaker form for an Aquatrol download sheet. It just streamlines things. It'll actually partially fill in that sheet for when we go to download our instruments at that river. So that helps out a lot. This final tab here, this is a tab that I made for just data management, stuff that I do when I get back to the office. Most of these I don't use on the iPad at all. I only use it on the PC after I've transferred all the data from the iPad to the PC. And these are some pretty lengthy scripts that I've written. For example, I have this button here. It says generate a daily PDF report. This button will generate a final PDF report, and it'll also export 3 different Excel files that we use for some of our database management. So it'll do all that with one button push. And you can specify, well, here we go. It says, are you sure you want to generate a report? Yes. So I can choose a range of dates. I can just click for today. It'll fill in the date search range. Or I can click a date range and plug in whatever dates I want to. And then generate a report. And it'll go through everything that was collected during this date period and generate a PDF report, and also, like I said, 3 Excel sheets. And I have an example report that I just made with some just made up data, and you can see on this PDF, it'll be several pages long, but it shows the location, bunch of whatever header we want to have on there. This is the header for this mine permit. Flow measurement page, it shows you all the distances, widths, depths, velocities, and then the total velocity in the bottom right there. The next page for the report has all of that basic information that we filled out when we first got to the stream, plus all the bottling information. So location, weather, the samplers, YSI meter information, the RPs, water meter, any remarks. It has the total flow on this page as well. The YSI readings. Down on the bottom, all the bottle collection stuff, what bottles were sampled, whether they were filtered or not, and any of the field blank or duplicate information's on the very bottom of that. Next page. I've also included all the photos in this report. So you have your upstream photo, downstream photo. Any remarks that you typed under the photos would show up on this page. Your control photo and any obstructions as well. Also at the end of the report, I have some sheets that show different things. This is just kind of like a table showing some of the different parameters from the YSI. This one just shows the total flow, and if you had done like 10 streams that day, each of those 10 streams would show up in this table. And this one shows the quality control sampling, so that field blank that we did shows up in this table. Okay, now okay, like I said, at the same time that PDF was generated, there was Excel forms or Excel sheets generated as well. And this is just showing what that information is. It's very similar to those last 3 sheets on the PDF, except that it's in Excel form, so it can easily be uploaded to other databases. So this is the stream and YSI parameters on that. The stream with the flow measurement, and the stream quality control field blank Excel. So let's see, I'll go back to the FileMaker. Okay, another thing I wanted to say, going back to this pH, the pH for the stream and the minimum and maximum that we want to keep an eye on, which will also trigger that automatic mail or email that's generated. This information comes from a table that's embedded within this file, and I can show you that. There's quite a few things running in the background that are connected with this form, and these pH limits is just one of those. It's one of those tables, and you can see on the left we have a whole bunch of streams. Maybe you can't see this. It's pretty small. It's kind of hard to see. Maybe I can blow it up a little bit. Might be a little easier. So on the left on this table is all the streams, top side, the different quarters that we sample in. So you got your pH quarter 1 minimum, pH quarter 1 maximum. So in the form, when you type in where you are and what the date is, it'll automatically go to this table and figure out what the minimum and maximum pH for that time period should be. And if these things change, it's really easy to update. There's two ways you can do that. You can do it right on the iPad, and all you have to do is click one of these cells and change it to whatever you want, and go back to your other form, and everything will be updated just fine. Another way to do it, and it's usually the way I do it because I have, well, several iPads to prep before we go out in the field. I usually change the master file on the PC, and then I transfer that master file to the iPad for use out in the field. Okay, well, I think that kind of shows basically how we use our form out in the field. I'm going to try to show, let's see if I can get this. I'm going to kind of show, it might be kind of blurry, but I'm going to try to show what the iPad actually looks like for a second here. So here's the Filemaker Go. Yeah, it's going to be a little blurry, but hopefully you can see it. So when you open your Filemaker Go app, you're going to kind of see a screen like that. And these are all the different Filemaker files that I've added to Filemaker Go. And one of those is the surface water sampling tab that we just went through. So you can see that all that you see on there is the form with the tabs. You don't see any of the other stuff on there. And you go through it same way I just showed you. Press boxes, press tabs, and navigate. If you wanted to alter that table that's connected with the pH range, on this app you just click this bottom left box, and that lets you access all the different things that are running in the background and different tables. That would be mine permit UPLs. And there's that table, so you could just press on that box and type on it on the iPad, and that would change that. So here I'll go back to the iPad form there. I think I'll share with you how I get when I create a file to use for the field on the PC in FileMaker. I'll show you how I get that onto the iPad. I think you can use iTunes. I haven't done that in years, but iTunes is one way to do it. I know that works for sure. But something that I found it's really sped things up. It's an app called File Browser, and I think you have to buy it. It's not too expensive. It might be like $20. But that's File Browser, and basically what this does is I have these different places I can connect to on here, and it works just like Windows Explorer. I can go onto our server. I can navigate to where the FileMaker file is kept that I created on the PC. I can copy it on here, and I mean when I get to I don't really copy it. When I get to the file on here, let's just say I'm looking at the FileMaker file here on the right side. It'll show up. I just click these lines on the right side. Come on. Oh, there we go. Then you'll get some options here, and one of those options will be open in, and all you have to do is press that, and then all the different apps will show up that you can open that file in, and one of those apps will be Filemaker Go. So then you just click on that, and it'll automatically transfer that file from the server to Filemaker Go, and then it's on your iPad and you're ready to go out in the field. So that's how I do that. But like I said, iTunes is another way to move the FileMaker program from the PC to the iPad. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to share. I think one other thing, I'll go back to the file. Oop, wrong one. That's the old FileMaker Go app. This is the new one. So when I get back to the office, the way that I transfer data from the iPad to the computer is I have it set up. When I get back to the office, the first thing I do is I go to my PC. I go onto the server and I open my FileMaker file on the server. And when I open my FileMaker file, it asks me whether I want to share it or whether I just want to open it. And I open it to share it, and that means other things can access it when it's in sharing mode. Things like the iPad can also access that file. So I open the file, the surface water file in sharing mode, and then I go to the iPad, and then here, let me get back to this camera thing. I can show you that. And built into the FileMaker Go software, and I get back to the home page, there's a way that you can connect to servers on here. So I would go to my server. And this is something you got to set up for each location that you're at. Like for Office, I got the stuff set up. I would go to our server, and then I would see the surface water file kind of floating here, just ready to be clicked. So then I would click on that, and then what I would be seeing on here is the FileMaker file that's actually running on the server. And it would look just like this. So then I would go to the import data from iPad, and I built some scripts. And that would automatically transfer all the data that I collected on my iPad directly to the server. It's a little bit complicated to set up, but once it's set up, it makes it really streamlined and really efficient. Like I said, you can use iTunes for that, but this is a much better way to set it up if you can do so. I'm sure that was a bit confusing, but at least it shows you some of the potential of what can be done with this once it's set up. Set up properly and set up completely. I guess that's about it. I mean, if you have other questions about this, you know how to reach us, and thank you for your time.